morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia, and welcome to Healing from Complex PTSD, Childhood Developmental Trauma. My name's Linda and I'm a clinical complex trauma recovery coach, and this has been some time since I've recorded a video because this year has been incredibly full on. Lots of exciting news, and I'll mention some at the end of the video. Because it's been a while, welcome all, especially to all the new followers as well. Welcome to our global family, where you'll find right across social media, I maintain with a group of incredible individuals a very, very safe space for you, because I understand completely what you've been traveling through, having not only traveled through it myself, but used the neuroscience now to develop ways that we can recover far more quickly than 3 decades in therapy, which is most of my clients come to me with extensive years in therapy, and we do this and we get well. Okay, well, we get reconnected, and because childhood developmental trauma disconnects everything internally and everything's run from the brain, contrary to social media, where they will have you believe it's the nervous system, and it's not. Because if you have complex trauma and you are very frustrated because you can't get the feeling internally of a nervous system, then you're actually quite normal. Okay, it's quite normal for us with complex trauma not to be able to get even a sense of our nervous system, because it's not connected into the fullness of who we are due to the damage done to our brain or the impact of trauma on our brain from when we were growing up. Plus, there's a whole other chat show about epigenetics and what's handed down. But for today, mentioning social media, I became really distressed because so many people, billions across the world read social media, and they are told, be vulnerable. That's your one next step, be vulnerable. And it's just not the full truth for us with complex trauma. And I really want to help you be able to navigate this information in a way that suits you at your own personal level of recovery. Because on this platform, it's important that we remember that this is global. So we will have cultural differences, we will have differences at the society level, and we'll have differences at the family level, because we all grew up in families that played all of this out in different ways and different formats. Now, vulnerability has become really celebrated on social media as a badge of courage. But for us living with CPTSD, it's not that simple. Genuine vulnerability requires thoughtful discernment. So discernment means that we're going to sit down and we're actually going to ask ourselves, can I trust this person? Do I know them long enough to know that I can open up just that little bit, not a whole lot, just that little bit, and be a bit vulnerable, okay? And that makes you think, well, what's vulnerability for me as well? Can I choose to know where I am in my recovery, the dynamics of the relationship with the person that I'm thinking of being vulnerable with? And one of the most important questions of all, do I have the capacity to handle any possible outcome of me being vulnerable with this person? So these are the 5 things to consider before being vulnerable. We want to evaluate the relationship. Apart from asking, are they trustworthy, we need to know, do they have a history of empathy and care? So even if it's not with us, have we observed them being empathic and caring and kind to those around them who can do nothing in return? Okay? Do they show care and kindness online to other people who aren't in the same space as they are in recovery. Even if you're in the local singles group on Facebook, or you're on a subreddit, anywhere that you are online, if that's where you're connecting with this person, have they shown empathy and care? Now, the other side of that is for us to know, have I asked for what I need? So am I at a stage of recovery where I'm okay asking for what I need? Now, to be honest, that's a really further down the track part of recovery than it is way back at the beginning. To even know what we need, let's face it, to know what we need, we're going to have to do some work around that as well. Because when we're children, our needs weren't acknowledged. So therefore, when we arrive in adulthood, we're like, yeah, what do I need? We tend to not consider that a lot. And that comes into checking our recovery stage, definitely. Okay, so we need to ask in relation to vulnerability, do I have a skill set where I can process positive responses? Think about it. You've never had a positive response to being vulnerable. Are you going to have the skill set, or do you have the skill set to be able to go, okay, if they're positive, I'm going to be able to process that. I'm not going to negate what the other person is saying or get angry. What is my response going to be? And do I have a skill set that enables me to deal with any unexpected response as well? Tricky, isn't it? All of a sudden, the social media vulnerability isn't so easy, or so something that we should do in a hurry. So we want to define our comfort zone, because what are we comfortable with sharing? So vulnerability doesn't have to mean laying everything bare, okay? It's okay to set boundaries. So even in the middle of being vulnerable, you can say, I'm sorry, I'm only comfortable sharing this much with you at the moment. That's all I really needed to say. And that's just one aspect of it. But think about it. Am I okay to say this is what my boundary is in respect to how much I will and won't share, how much I can and can't be vulnerable? When we want to consider the potential outcomes and how the other person might respond, we need to reflect on, how am I expecting them to respond? Now, if they don't respond in a way that is something I've learnt to have a skill set around, do I have a skill set, and am I able to say what I do and don't need if they don't respond in a way that I either expected, or it comes out of left field and you go, oh wow, yeah, I'm not quite sure what to do with that. And that's actually something you can say as well, is if a response comes up that you never expected or never thought about, or it's just something new from this person, it's like, okay, I'm not quite sure how to work with your response, but either we can work through it, or I need some time out just to think about how to work through that. Okay, so can you see that we want to be vulnerable with people who are actually aware of who we are and how we're traveling? We want to self-regulate before we're sharing. Now, I know I talked about the nervous system, but we also need to know what's happening at a brain level. So we need to know that we've connected to our space in the here and now, and that we're feeling as centered as much as possible. We don't be vulnerable impulsively. And trust me, when I say there are those of us who have complex PTSD where our former parts of our life have been incredibly impulsive, like resigning from your job and packing up and moving to the other side of Australia. I had a job before I went, but impulsively, I actually didn't know how to think all of that through, but it was a good adventure. But yeah, what do you do that's impulsive that you look back and go, oh, that was impulsive to do. What was the outcome? How did it go for you? Would you prefer to think things through in advance or keep being impulsive? All right. So remember, vulnerability is powerful, but only when it feels safe and aligned with our own individual healing journey. It's okay to take your time. It's okay to reflect and prioritize your emotional well-being as well. All right? Okay, I know that's a lot to take in. So one next step is next time you're on social media or online anywhere and somebody is being vulnerable, or you feel that you're about to share information, to be vulnerable from your heart, or this is what's happened for me, just ask yourself, I'm aware I'm about to be vulnerable, and not only do I feel safe, but am I equipped to be able to handle what any of the possible responses are? Now, if you need a safe space to do this process, be vulnerable and learn that it's okay to be vulnerable, like to have the experience of it, pop into our Facebook peer support group, because in there it is a very, very safe space, because we consider everybody who has yet to discover how to use their voice, how to speak up, how to be vulnerable, how to say what they need, and what your experiences are with your journey with complex trauma. It's a very, very supportive group. I will include the link in the details with this video as well. And if you're a professional, I will include this meme for navigating vulnerability with CPTSD into the quick links in the Thriver library, where there's a whole host of information and complex trauma recovery products, because we need them, especially when it comes to neuroscience as well, because it's only been made public in the last 6 years. Okay, so we need to know how to go about all of this. Now, the links to the Thriver library will be down below as well, and if this resonates with you, please feel welcome to like and subscribe. If it doesn't, that's okay too, because we're all our own person. Now, I'll end that for now, because I feel that that's a lot of information in a short amount of time when it comes to vulnerability. I've been absent because on YouTube, I've been absent because on the back end of the certification that I've been writing, there's been a lot going on. However, now I have achieved not only status as a complex trauma pioneer, but also the certification is fully assessed and got the rubber stamp from a global company. So that's really good too, and all the CEUs are. And I was assessed and passed for being a teacher for complex trauma as well. So that was one lot of things that have been going on, as well as writing certification and coaching globally all year. Plus, on top of that, around May, I had my own whole healing inner connection happen. But then because of that, because I became fully present, other things, other parts of my health that weren't prominent now became prominent. The main one was ADHD. Now, 9 years ago, I was diagnosed with ASD. However, my healing journey and my medical journey, if you've read my story, you'll know that medical practitioners, I lost everything. No ability to walk, talk, feed, bathe, all of that I had a full-time carer. So the medical fraternity caused that to happen, and it's taken me over 3 years to find a specialist who will see me for the ADHD. And even when the ASD was diagnosed, there was no follow through for any comorbidity, nothing, just nothing. So another 9 years went by where I didn't have correct medical treatment. So for 3 years now, I was looking for a specialist for ADHD, and I had tried to get into a number of them, which I couldn't. One even asked me to validate why I should be allowed to come and see them, like, why they should accept me as a patient. And I was just like horrified, thinking, wow, aren't you here to help? But no. And this year, after the becoming fully present and things getting worse and disorganized, and I was mortified, it was a friend of mine who put me on to a new specialist, and I was able to see them in September. And then a couple of weeks ago, because it takes so long, I was lucky to get in September, and then it takes so long to get your next appointment. You've got to have blood tests, and you're being tested all the time because they have to get it right. And so a couple of weeks ago, we began the journey of becoming well. So a sign of the wellness is that I was actually able to prioritize my work over the last couple of days, and I've had this meme sitting there for forever and wanting to share with you to keep you safe, and I couldn't do it. But now I'm starting to become well. I'm able to put things in an order for my day. So that's part of the health challenges I face this year, but onwards and upwards. Now, if you're a female and you're unsure of whether this is happening for you, definitely you can do online tests. You can get an idea of it, but I do recommend that you see someone, because now we're having a lot of late diagnosis females, simply because, same with the ASD, there's never been any acknowledgement of the impact on females. Now, all of my children are ASD, ADHD, and not one specialist ever said to me, we better check you because I present as normal, as functional. But my children will tell you, who are all adults, that it's only when you live with me that you see how this impacts my life. So I want to encourage you that whatever's happening for you, you don't need to rush off and pay the highly expensive route that I did. I saved my money. It's take one step at a time, read actual proper descriptions, etc. There are people online who do videos. They don't always have 100% of the information correct, but they may have enough for you to get curious as well. Okay? So let's cross our fingers that I get back on board with all of my work and finishing up the certification modules as well. And you can go and do any of the certification modules at any time. You don't have to be doing the certification. The courses are there for everybody to do, to improve, to have information to apply it to your life so that you too can recover in a healthy way, because complex trauma is so multifaceted. Thank you for being here, and if you stayed to the end, let me know. I really appreciate all of you, because it's knowing that my heart is to help people heal and to help as much as I can for everything from free resources right up into the paid resources, because I know throughout my recovery I've needed everything from free resources up to paid resources. And I made a discipline of always saving money, even on a pension when I was disability pension, to save up for the next one thing that I needed, only ever one thing at a time. And also when I needed free resources, to get online and search for free resources in my area. And they are becoming more and more and more community free resources all over the world. If you're having trouble finding free resources in your area, please pop a comment down below, even with just your country name, if you feel comfortable with the name of your area, so not right where you live, but even just, so for mine, I could say the Brisbane Shire or Redland Shire or Bayside or Gold Coast. It's that overarching area that I'd be able to research some information for you as well. And I'm happy to do that, because I do understand how hard it is to find help in this area. Hence why we're here today. Have the most beautiful, beautiful weekend, and know that we only get to take one step at a time, but every one step matters. Bye for now.